from life's storms. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu Leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. And a song, because we are so grateful that it is Shabbat, page 44, Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Ve'ni uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Page 46, we continue with the Amidah, the Tefillah. We rise. Adonai sefatak tiftach uvi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Hasei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei metim ata rav lehoshia, mori atal, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechayei metim berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lahachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hametim. take a few moments for the silent prayers of our hearts. Page 62.
Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. May the one who makes peace above make peace descend on all of us, and Israel. Let us say amen. Oh, say shalom, bimromah, ase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Amen.
We continue with prayers for healing found on page 253. If there are people in your life for whom you are praying this evening, please say those names out loud. We join with you in hoping that your prayers go straight up to God. And we join together in this prayer.
Nisheberach Avoteinu Mekor Avraham Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say amen. Nisheberach imotenu mekor Avraham leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say amen.
King Solomon, the builder of the first temple, was known for his wisdom and his sadness. He turned to his most trusted servant, Benaiah, and said to him, "Benaiah, there is a certain ring that I want you to bring to me. I wish to wear it for Sukkot, which gives you 6 months to find it." "If it exists anywhere on earth, your majesty," replied Benaiah, "I will find it and bring it to you. But what makes the ring so special?" "It has magic powers," answered the king. "If a happy man looks at it, he becomes sad. And if a sad man looks at it, he becomes happy." Spring passed and then summer, and still Benaiah had no idea where he could find the ring. On the night before Sukkot, he decided to take a walk in one of the poorest quarters of Jerusalem. He passed by an old merchant who had begun to set out the day's wares on a shabby carpet. "Have you by any chance heard of a magic ring that makes the happy wearer forget his joy and the broken-hearted wearer forget his sorrows?" asked Benaiah. He watched the old merchant take a plain gold ring from his carpet and engrave something on it. When Benaiah read the words on the ring, his face broke out in a wide smile. That night, the entire city welcomed in the holiday of Sukkot with great festivity. Well, my friend, said Solomon, have you found what I sent you after? To everyone's surprise, Benaiah held up a small gold ring and declared, here it is, your majesty. The jeweler had written 3 Hebrew letters on the gold band, Gimel Zayin Yud, which stood for Gam Ze Ya'avor. This too shall pass. It is our Jewish tradition to build a sukkah in early fall, erecting the first pole before we break our Yom Kippur fast. I think that is so we are immediately reminded of the upcoming joy of Sukkot after 10 days of solemn prayer and reflection. The sukkah is a temporary hut or shelter in which it is said the Israelites lived as they wandered through the desert for 40 years in the days of the Exodus. Like the ring in our folktale, the sukkah reminds us that our struggles and our joys are fleeting, that the structure of our lives is never as predictable as we think it is. Each of us builds the sukkah that we call our lives, and each of us wears a metaphorical ring that cautions us never to forget that change is central to a meaningful life. A sukkah, or your life, may take a variety of forms, from a relatively elaborate wooden structure to a simple hut on an apartment balcony, to a prefab of aluminum poles and canvas walls, as long as it satisfies a few basic requirements. Most Sukkot have 3 walls. In other words, one does not dwell secluded or separated inside one sukkah. Rather, one is always susceptible to outside influences and interruptions. A sukkah must be able to withstand a medium wind. It is not a permanent enclosure. It shifts with the times. The roof, covered with bamboo or palm branches or a trellis, should provide more shade than sunlight in the daytime, yet allow the brightest stars to be visible at night. The sukkah protects, but also allows a clear view of the heavens. With respect to Sukkot's nicknames, Man Simchatenu, the season of our joy, it is a custom, though not a requirement, to decorate the sukkah. Possibilities are endless. Rosh Hashanah cards, paper chains, paper lanterns, strings of colored electric lights. To reflect the bounty of the harvest, people hang fruit, gourds, cranberries on a string, or Indian corn. The sukkah is more than a simple foundation. It is reflective and representative of our unique lives. Once the sukkah is assembled and decorated, it is time to dwell inside for 7 days, as the Torah instructs. For observant Jews, major life activities are conducted in the sukkah for 8 days, eating, relaxing, entertaining, studying, and even sleeping. Some Jews limit their sukkah dwelling to eating. For many of us at Congregation Nefesh Soul, building a sukkah is not a practiced ritual, though it is a lovely way to entertain friends and to experience early hints of autumn. For many of us, especially those like me whose fragile sukkah rarely stands the test of even the smallest breeze, the sukkah reminds us of the Israelites' vulnerability during those years when their faith was being nurtured by their leader Moses, and when it was not at all guaranteed that they would survive. And it reminds us of our own vulnerability, of the fragility of our lives, of the push and pull of joy and sadness, of the delicate balance between a strong foundation and a shaky structure. We stand as firmly as we can on this moving planet, but we are never far from the knowledge that we will stumble and pick ourselves up, that we will fail and start again, that life will toss us about from time to time. For the sukkah, that metaphorical representation of our lives, survives when its walls are flexible enough to bend with the wind and strong enough to straighten with the stillness. We too survive by bending and straightening to the rhythm of our lives. Because the sukkah is such a social event, I imagine that many of us who normally construct one will not do so this year. Without the ability to invite friends and family to share a meal, the sukkah will feel especially lonely. If you do build your sukkah, please send me a photo. I have built a very small sukkah in my backyard for Brian and me. It will nurture me in so many ways. There is value in venturing outdoors from time to time to allow ourselves the opportunity to experience the unfamiliar, the unsteady, the tenuous, the adventurous. To construct a sukkah is to reach beyond our comfortable, safe lives. It is to reinforce the shaky foundation when it threatens to tumble down upon us, and to rebuild as often as we need to, as often as our lives need to be rebuilt. For we will never have the perfect structure, and who would want that anyway, when we can look forward to decorating and redecorating our lives over and over again. Our service continues with the Aleinu found on page 282. We open the ark doors. I invite you to rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו ושמו אחד ושמו אחד.
We remain standing for Kaddish, which is found on page. Oh, it's found on our screen, right? That's right. Which we have these October yard sites, month of October, on the screen, and you can see that there are a lot of them at Congregation Nefesh Soul. So if you see names that you recognize, or if there are names you do not recognize, I invite you to say those names aloud. We'll just take a moment to look at them before we turn to the Kaddish prayer and recite together. Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah v'Alma Yifrach Chirutei v'Yamlich Malchutei v'Chayechon v'Yomechon v'Chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'Gala v'Zman Kariv v'Yimeru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Olomei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Dekudisha Barichu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Please be seated. Koa. Oh, first we're going to listen. Yes. Hang on.
Zichronam livracha. We remember them. Zichronam livracha. Zichronam Livracha, we remember them.
We have a special guest this evening. This is Koa Crawford, and you can remove your mask. Koa is here from the state of Washington because tomorrow is his bar mitzvah. So Koa, come stand right here. First, before we do the kiddush, if you set your seat right there, I'm going to give you the honor of being the person to shake our lulav and etro. So you're hold them together like this. I'm going to say the blessing first. So put them in one hand like, yes, there you go. Perfect. And we're going to say 3 blessings this evening. First, we have the blessing for dwelling in the imaginary sukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu leishev b'sukkah. And then we have the blessing for shaking the lulav. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat lulav. And then please join me for the Shehechianu, because this evening is the beginning of the holiday of Sukkot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. So, Koa, you're going to go up, right, back, left, front, and down. Mazel tov. That was beautiful. And now Koa is going to lead us in the Kiddush, which is found on page 4. And where is your ka? Let me grab. So, whenever you are ready, here's the microphone.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitchan b'mitzvotah v'iratzat-vanu, v'shabbat kadsho b'ahavadu v'ratzon, hinhi lanu zikaro v'ma'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehela v'mitzkarei kodesh, tiher litziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu karta ve'otanu kitchata, mikol hamayim, ve'shabbat kadsho, kiahavadu ve'ratzon, in kalatanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat.
Amen. Take a sip. Thank you very much, Koa. Tomorrow will be Koa's bar mitzvah tomorrow morning, just with his immediate family, and a Zoom experience for extended family and friends. All right, Koa, you may take your seat. Thank you. We are going to conclude with a song that is appropriate for Sukkot. It comes from the book of Ecclesiastes, and perhaps you know it and will sing along, and we will even give you the words. It's called Turn, Turn, Turn. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to love, a time to reap. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to mourn, time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. And a time to every purpose under heaven. Starting next week, our services will begin at 6 p.m. rather than 6:30 as we have been. We wish you a Chag Sameach, happy Sukkot, Shabbat Shalom, and we will see you soon.
Shabbat Shalom.